I want to see. He's away.
So we've all been playing the Resident Evil Village demo, but there's another one coming out in a couple of days, and we've got a sneak peek of some preview footage. So if you want to see it before you can play it and get the lowdown on it, because we've also got Leon, who has seen some more other footage to walk us through and explain what we're seeing, what's going on, and more details about the castle. Oh, that doll is rather creepy. So who is this lovely cast of characters then, Leon?
So these are the 4 people that are working for Mother Miranda. We've heard her name mentioned. She is sort of responsible for kidnapping Ethan Winter's daughter, for reasons we don't know why yet. But we've got Dimitrescu, apparently, as Capcom has revealed the pronunciation of Vampire Lady's name. Heisenberg is the guy with the big hammer. Moreau is the sort of the toady hunchback guy. And Beneviento, I believe, is the woman with the sort of the strange wooden doll. You can see at some points in the game there's an altar. The villagers worship these people, and the 5 of them are on display in this altar. So we know for sure that these are the 5 people named as the bad guys.
So these people all seem to also have different powers, or they seem to be quite varied in what they can do.
Yes, so we know, Mother Miranda, I've seen some notes, and there's some sort of discussions and bits in some of the gameplay I've seen where we know that Mother Miranda has given them their powers. Lady Dimitrescu believes she's the best and can't understand why Mother Miranda isn't like seeing her as the best of the bunch, but they've all got different powers. So Dimitrescu is some kind of vampire. They seem to feed on blood. There's notes in the Maiden demo, I believe, that suggest they've been around since the 1950s. She's got 3 daughters, Daniela, Cassandra and Bella, who have different characteristics, and they're the ones that turn into insects when they move around. Heisenberg seems to be telekinetic. He's sort of, at one point in what I saw, he captures Ethan in a sort of a big swarm of like mind-controlled rubbish. He's also calls his hammer like Thor style into his hand. Moreau, we don't really don't know what he is, but Moreau, if you think of Island of Moreau, there's a sort of a beastie sort of half man, half beast kind of connotation to that name. And Beneviento, again, maybe telekinetic, because it appears to be that the shrouded woman at the back in black controls the doll, and the doll is some kind of manifest expression of that person's personality. So they all have different powers. They all seem to be controlled or obeying Mother Miranda, who herself has wings. We don't know what her powers are yet, and we don't know how she got them, because when you meet some of the villagers in the demo, it's clear that she was a beneficial, godlike kind of character. She seems to have been worshipped. There's prayers to her. So why she's gone bad, I'm guessing, is something to do with like either T-Virus, Las Plagas, the mold, one of the Resident Evil kind of monster-making things.
So this, as we just saw from the castle, this view, this is a huge, this is a vast castle, way bigger than some of the original Resident Evil games. But how big is this game going to be? Do we know yet?
Well, interestingly, you say the castle's big, but in the gameplay I saw, you see the map. Obviously, one of the things in Resident Evil is you find maps for areas, and that's how you sort of know where you are. And the map for the castle looks smaller than the main house in Resident Evil 7. So it might not actually be that big. And obviously we've got Mother Miranda, we've got Dimitrescu, we've got Heisenberg, Moreau, Beneviento. So we've got 5 main characters in the game. They all seem to have an area like Dimitrescu's castle. So Heisenberg has a factory, Moreau has a reservoir of some description, and Beneviento, I think, just has like a house. But it looks like all of these characters have a location. We've seen a lot this kind of stone sort of like table thing that has an emblem for each of them. So it looks like you have to defeat each of the 4 like sub-bosses before you can get to Mother Miranda. I'm guessing each one drops an emblem, you put it in the thing, and eventually you open up somewhere where Mother Miranda lives. There's an area called the Stronghold, which may be her, it may be something else. But there's about 12 different named locations on the map. So I mentioned a stronghold, there's a sluice gate, there's a windmill, there's a graveyard, there's a worship, there's like a kind of a religious site, a ritual site. And unlike previous Resident Evils, this feels like, or it looks like, there's a village area which is the hub, and then it branches out to all these different areas. And Capcom spoke about being able to backtrack. When I saw the longer gameplay demo, you will get different tools. So an example is you get bolt cutters, and then you can suddenly go back and open the gates that have padlocks on them. And they implied heavily that you'll be backtracking between different areas. You'll get a tool that will then let you go somewhere you couldn't reach before. So it looks like it could be quite a big game, like with all these separate areas that you sort of unlock as you progress, and then you're crossing through the village to reach different areas, with the ultimate goal being to defeat the 4 main sub-bosses to get to Mother Miranda.
So this room here and this footage here really kind of is suggesting that it's like there's clearly a puzzle here, there's clearly something to do, and it's quite nice that, like, harkening back to the old Resident Evil games, there are these puzzles within the house that you've got to solve. So that looks like a welcome return that's coming back. Have you seen that kind of thing throughout other footage as well?
Yeah, and it's very much par for the course of Resident Evil. That puzzle there, for example, I've seen the solution to. I'm not going to say what it is because I don't want to spoil it. But yeah, like Resident Evil like thrives on these kind of weird, slightly bizarre kind of puzzles, and it looks like this is very much kind of keeping with that. We see the ball tilting puzzle. You actually have to find that ball separately, so I'm guessing there's another puzzle there. The blood on the wall is a nice clue. Normally you find notes and things like that, but it looks like it's very much doing what Resi always does, which is a kind of who builds this kind of puzzle sort of system. And
as we can see here, the classic villain walking around a house slowly following you is, you know, we knew it was going to happen, but it's quite nice. I really love this bit because you can just watch her coming after you slowly and just be like, yep, I can still beat you, it's fine. So that's something else that it'll be interesting to see how that factors into the game, whether you're trying to do puzzles or just like explore areas.
This is very similar to, there's a sequence, or there's a section I should say, in Resident Evil 7 where Jack, the father of the Baker family, are like, he's just following you around the house like a really stompy walk, but it's quite slow, so you can kind of get on with things as long as you kind of keep moving ahead of him, but he's there the whole time and you can lose him. So I suspect, I know where this is going, I can't spoil it, but I suspect when she's following you, you are trying to lose her, trying to do some stuff, solve some puzzles. There is a thing you are aiming towards, and I'm guessing she will just be a presence in the castle that you can run away from and avoid, and if she catches you, you got to like try and get out of the way and lose her for a bit.
7 had, like you said, there wasn't as many people in 7, so you could run away from him and he's the only one that you'd encounter, whereas here you can see that she's forcing you into other enemies, so there is things to bearing in mind. You can't just run away from her willy-nilly and expect that everything will be fine. And then I love this bit because of when she's just talking to her daughter.
Oh yeah, the tone of her voice is amazing.
Enough games. I want that man's head. Now go.
Of course, Mother.
Actually, you mentioned the number of enemies. I will quickly just cover this. The combat is vastly different in this game. In Resi 7, as you mentioned, you'd meet 2 or 3 people. Like if you had like 3 enemies in a room at once, that was as big as it kind of got. Whereas with this, we've got werewolves everywhere. There's like exploding barrels. Like it's a very different feeling game from what they've shown off so far in terms of the combat. It's much more, you know, firing loads of bullets at loads of enemies, which is going to be interesting because it is very, very different to how the previous game played.
You know, within the next couple of days, we're going to have a really good idea of what this game is like, and people playing it, like diehard Resi fans, will know whether they like it or not, whether it's in keeping with the theme, and it would be really interesting to see what people think of the game now that they've been able to play such large chunks of it.
I still think that we're actually only seeing like a very small amount of it, because so far we've only seen basically the castle and the sort of the village leading up to the castle. We've still got the Heisenberg, Moreau, Beneviento. They all seem to have different characteristics. They all have different locations. There's been shots of sort of a processing plant with people going past on conveyor belts that must be Heisenberg's factory. So I think, you know, there's a lot of the game we haven't seen yet, and no idea how it's going to sort of play out, which is the really interesting thing to me, that they could be huge surprises yet to come with what you know, the different enemies do and how the different locations shake out.
And also, what are these things? These things look horrifically terrifying.
They look a lot like, we've seen these sort of ghoul-like, ghouls basically, with sort of swords and axes and like kind of like hoods and like shoulder capes. We've seen those very early on. But these
got snouts. Are they like big mosquito bat things?
They have the same hoods as the sort of the ghouls we've seen in the basement. So there's obviously something going on in terms of mutations. Yeah, we don't.
Ugh.
Yeah.
I don't like it.
But this could be
I
something
don't like
with Moreau. If Moreau, the character, ties into the the island of Moreau, where he's making these half human, half animal hybrids, then that could be where this is coming from, and there could be more variations of kind of freakishly mutated human animal people.
Ugh. Well, however scared I am, I'm still really looking forward to playing the castle part of the demo. Comment below the things that you've liked about the demo so far and what you're looking forward to as well. So thanks, Leon, and hopefully talk to you soon about all the other things in Resident Evil 8.